JT Smith for the TFON Podcast here for Season 5, Episode 7. The Bearcats will welcome in a familiar rival or familiar opponent, West Virginia Mountaineers. And I was able to track down Rivals on WVSports.com's Keenan Cummings. Keenan, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, JT.
No problem, man. I appreciate you coming in so we can talk some UC, West Virginia. So this is one of those things I know.
Left, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. It's one of those ones where you're happy to see, like, oh, yeah, I know this team. But, yeah, man, I was able to talk a little bit about the game, on your site earlier. You dropped it today. So, man, this game, Bearcats are coming in a little bit, lost their last game off a bye. But, last year we came to West Virginia and you guys beat the brakes off of us. Do you feel like that West Virginia team that was getting so much momentum last year, are they still the same kind of team, or is it kind of like they're kind of turning into the Bearcats of last year? What information do you have for us on that one?
It really depends on the week. I mean, this is a football team that at times has looked really, really good, and at times simply hasn't. They've really played poorly against the best teams on their schedule. It's the best way to put it. They had chances against Iowa State, really had a chance to win that game. They should have beat Pitt. I know Cincinnati knows that feeling all too well. West Virginia was up 10 with 3 minutes left and blew that game. Was in the Kansas State game at half, and then basically 4 or 5 of their best players were hurt and just got blown out in the second half. So they've been close at times, but it's really down to some of the issues that's plagued the Neal Brown regime really since he's got here. There's just inconsistency. And, he's hovering around 500 during his time here. I think he's 2 games over 500. And that's really what West Virginia has been for the most part. They were playing really, really well when Cincinnati came to Morgantown last year. That's the best stretch that Neal Brown's had since he's been here. They won their last 4 games last year. Really looked good offensively. This year, they've dealt with some injuries, some inconsistency, and right now it would be definitely fair to say they're not playing as well as they were last year. But can this team still go out and win games? Yes. They still have some injuries they're dealing with. We don't know for sure which quarterback's going to start, although I would lean heavily towards Nico Markiel. Would really surprise me if Garrett's out there. But it's I hate to say it this way. It's become almost message board fodder for West Virginia fans, but it really seems like this game's a coin flip to me.
That's fair. So with that, especially at the quarterback position, with it sounding like a coin flip, who's going to be playing on Saturday, let the Bearcat fans know, like, if your main starter, if he starts, will he look like the guy that ran over him last year, or will it be if the backup starts, what will the defense have to do something different, or is it kind of like he is a light of Green? Just kind of give a breakdown of those 2 guys and if the Bearcats' chances are better with the backup or not.
Right now, I'm surprised. Crazier things have happened. Last year against TCU, nobody expected him to play, and he came back and ended up playing. This is a little bit different. It's upper body type deal, and those things are complicated. So I think that you're likely going to see Nico Markiel. West Virginia's going to run the offense the same way. That's the one thing I can say. They don't do a lot of things differently with Markiel in there. He's not as dynamic of a runner as Green, but he certainly can run. He's a lot more powerful when he runs, harder to get down. He had a hit, an Oklahoma State defender earlier this season, just absolutely destroyed him, coming up on quarterback power. So they're going to run the ball with him, some RPO stuff. They're going to, safe, easy access type throws. He can throw the deep ball. I think at this point of his career, it's hard to say over what Green's done, but he's just as good, if not better, in terms of accuracy with his passing. Not as dynamic of a runner. He's not a guy that's going to take off for 70 yards likely, but he definitely can get 20, 30. He can get first downs with his feet. So it'll be interesting to see, how he's used. He played well at Arizona last week or last week before the bye. 18 of 22, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn the ball over, ran for 39 more yards, and took some knees at the end. So I think that the way that they use him is going to kind of protect him. They're going to game plan for what he does best. Now, is that enough? We'll see. West Virginia's got to be able to run the football here. That's going to come down to that more than anything.
And then with the quarterback being the person that will run the ball for West Virginia, who will the Bearcats have to, corner that's a tailback on, in that offense?
Yeah, they're going to use two running backs. I think the same two guys Cincinnati saw last year, C.J. Donaldson and Jaheim White. Jaheim White had a big game against Cincinnati, so he's explosive. They use him in a lot of the same ways. They run the quarterback too. White is kind of that dynamic, as cliche as it is, thunder and lightning type backfield. White is going to be that guy they get in space. They'll give him on jet sweeps, try to get him to the edge. He can make guys miss. He's by far the leader in that category on West Virginia. I think he's forced a ton of missed tackles this year, and really until lately hasn't ran as well as he did last year. He averaged 7-some yards a carry last year with over 100 carries. That's the first time that's happened at West Virginia. So, and they've had some pretty dynamic running backs. So I think that you can see that the talent is there, the skill set's there. Donaldson's completely different. Now he is he's not necessarily just a guy you're going to line up and run out of I formation. He can run some different schemes. He can also catch passes. He was a former tight end. They moved to running back. He had never played running back before he got to college, and this is year 3 for him. So he's a load, a big, big guy, hard to bring down, and they're a pretty good tandem back there. West Virginia's ran the football really effectively again this year for the most part, dating back to 2023 or 2022 when they first made these changes offensively. To kind of change the scheme around the strengths of Garrett Green and running the football. I think they've ran for over 140 yards in 24 of the last 25 games. So they've had a lot of success on the ground.
Nice. Yeah, everybody knows West Virginia can run the ball pretty well. So, on the outside, who are the guys the Bearcats have to contain? Because West Virginia is going to run the ball, but who are the guys that they can't lose in the secondary? You can't allow the big plays they allowed against Colorado, to happen, against West Virginia. Who do they have to keep covered up?
Yeah, they've got it's kind of wide receiver by committee almost. They've got a couple guys that stand out. Hudson Clement, a former walk-on that's really, really impressed. He's not your typical walk-on. Fast, he's big, he can catch the ball. Made some really tough catches. I think he only had 2 catches against Arizona. One of them was a touchdown on 4th and 3. The other one was a first down to kind of keep a drive going and really keep West Virginia from losing momentum in that game. So he's made a lot of big catches, leads the team in contested catches. Their deep threat guy, they have a couple guys that can run. Traylon Ray is a guy that, against Arizona had a 54-yard touchdown pass, is able to get behind the defense. And they've got some guys like Justin Robinson. He's a transfer from Mississippi State, played at Georgia, and a few other guys they're going to use. But those are the 2 main guys, I would say. And Rodney Gallagher, they use him a little bit in the slot. They'll hand the ball off to him sometimes and kind of get him involved. He's made a lot of improvement. It might not necessarily say it in the stat sheet as much because this isn't really a voluminous passing attack, but he's light years better than where he was at the wide receiver spot this time a year ago.
Nice. And then with Green being a major guy that's dinged up on the offensive side, is there anybody else that on the offensive side that may not play that could be a key contributor on Saturday if they were to play?
Yeah, one of those receivers is out. Jaden Bray, a transfer from Oklahoma State. Unfortunately, he's been banged up, dealt with injuries most of the year. They had a lot of high hopes for him. It just hasn't happened so far. He's got another season, but he hurt his foot, so he's out. They will get back a major piece, though, at left tackle in Wyatt Milam. He might be a first-round pick next year. He's played excellent. Every bit as good in a different position, but in terms of offensive line-wise, every bit as good, if not better than Zach Frazier is how well he's played up front for West Virginia. He hasn't allowed a sack in 2 years. Jeez. So he's been very, very good. And Johnny Williams filled in admirably for him at Arizona, but you just don't replace guys like that. So that's a major boost.
Nah, for sure. That's huge. Yes, that's good information. That's good nuggets of information for the Bearcat fans to look at on Saturday. Maybe he'll just come back next week. He won't come back on Saturday, but we'll see. But we'll go ahead and switch sides to the defensive side of the ball. West Virginia, like who do the experienced offensive line of the Bearcats have to put a hat on, maybe double team to keep Brendan Sorsby clean on Saturday?
Now, this has been where West Virginia's had issues, not necessarily up front, but defensively. They had a defensive coordinator during the bye week.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I'll get into that more, but it's been kind of a mess at times. But the one place they've been very good is up front. When it comes to stopping the run, they get pressure on the quarterback. It's kind of, again, a committee type deal. They have a couple guys up there that have been very good. TJ Jackson didn't even start the season as a starter. That was actually Edward Vesterinen. He hurt his foot or knee. I apologize. He's out for the year. TJ Jackson, a transfer for Troy, comes in. He leads the team in sacks. He leads the team in tackles for loss. He's been really disruptive, and he's finally healthy. He's been battling some injuries the past couple of weeks. That bye week was good for him. Sean Martin is an experienced guy, and Fatorma Mulba has played very, very well at that nose guard position for West Virginia. So they go about 6 deep there, sometimes 7. It's not as deep as they were last year, but they're getting good production from the guys that are there.
So I'm going to ask about defensive coordinator in a second, but the linebacker secondary area, is that kind of where the Bearcats have to take advantage of if they're going to win this game or win it comfortably or just win the game? Because you say the defensive line is tough. The tape I've seen, they do definitely look very formidable. Secondary linebackers, give us a little bit of information on that, and then how will they be able to slow down a nice, well-rounded Bearcats offense?
Yeah, West Virginia's had pretty good linebacker play when it comes to stopping the run. They're one of the best teams in the league at stopping the run. The run's not been the problem. And usually, if you can stop the run, it's pretty good. But the linebackers have been kind of put in a blender at times this year with their drops. They've not been getting where they need to get. And teams have really, those easy access throws. Kansas State was basically just, they couldn't run the ball in West Virginia, but they were basically just having 8-yard handoffs to guys that were wide open behind the linebackers, and then they turned it into 13-yard gain. So you don't really need to run the ball if you can do that. It's something they've really worked on. We'll see if they fixed it before. It was an issue earlier in the year. They changed up some coverages, and they fixed it, and it was better. But the linebackers, safeties, corners, that's been the problem. West Virginia's pass defense has not been good. And I mean not been good in practically every way you can define it. They haven't made plays on the ball. They haven't been able to force turnovers. They've had trouble getting aligned at times. And, anytime you have alignment issues in the secondary, it's usually bad news. Sure. And you go back and look at, this defense, they have at least over, obviously they're going to have a new coordinator calling it now, but the previous couple weeks before that, they've had at least 1 or 2 plays, just complete busts, where teams have had 50, 60-yard touchdowns, guys wide open, guys getting the wrong signal. They had one play, where half the defense got one call, half the defense got the other. Eesh. So as you can see, it's been an issue. They have had success, West Virginia has in the secondary in the past. I do think that it's possible. This isn't the best personnel grouping that they've had, but they've got some players. They've had some injuries there too. Which really has hurt them. Aubrey Burks is one of their captains, and he hasn't played the last 2 or 3 weeks. They have one of their best corners is banged up. So they've had injuries. But if you're going to attack West Virginia, at least from what I know before this bye week, that's where I would attack them, try to throw the football.
So on the defensive side of the ball, you mentioned Burks and you mentioned the cornerback that was hurt. Is there anybody else that is a major contributor that probably won't play on, or is 50-50 or probably won't play on Saturday?
I think that's it. Burks is definitely out. Aiden Garnes is definitely out. The rest of the guys, they got some good news during the bye. They're going to get Kiki Tarnu back, who is filling in for Burks. So they were down to their 3rd option there at that spear safety position. Wow. So when I mentioned personnel, they're playing true freshmen in some spots. So they're going to get a little bit better there with some guys back. But Burks is a major loss, and so is Garnes, because Garnes has played pretty well this year when really given the chance compared to some of his peers.
So with the defensive coordinator change before the bye week, perfect time if you're going to do that. You get an extra week to implement a new system or at least make tweaks to the current system. Just from you being a person that, covers the team, boots to the ground, why do you feel like the defensive switch had to happen? And then what do you think the benefits of making a switch, and what do you expect probably to see a little bit different on Saturday, possibly?
I just think it had to be done. Neil Brown he's 4-4 here in year 6. And there was, nationally, I understand the expectations might not have been as high for this team, but West Virginia was 9-4 last year.
Yeah.
They were coming off a really good year, returning a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
People in West Virginia expect to win football games and not to be around 500. So there's some pressure there. I think that played a role. The defense is very underperformed. They're I think 114th, or they were during the bye week in pass defense. I think they're 98th in total defense. Now, run defense is good, but again, if you can't stop the pass, I mean, it's kind of like a couple years ago, or 2001, I believe it was. West Virginia was first in the nation at pass defense because everybody just ran on them. So I think it's a move that had to be made, and I think Jordan Leslie, he did a pretty good job here for the most part at times, but the last couple of years it's been a struggle. And when decisions need to be made, sometimes it's just for the best interest. That's for what we'll see. I don't think Jeff Koons is going to change a lot. He likes the structure. There's some different things you can do. I mentioned they focused on kind of getting some of that zone coverage cleaned up, which is going to be absolutely paramount if they want to try to beat Cincinnati. So I don't know. I don't know yet his tendencies in terms of pressure or how he'll go man, that kind of thing. But I do think that, he's called plays before. This isn't new for him. He actually did it at Cincinnati, ironically enough. So I think that you're not just throwing a guy in there that is, let's see what will happen. He's a guy that's qualified for this job, has had other opportunities to leave for coordinator jobs, but has stayed. So it's his time, and, he's got 4 games to see what he can do with it.
Yeah, for sure. So with the game on Saturday, it's a noon kickoff. I think the weather is going to be pretty good. It's been unseasonably warm in Cincinnati, so I don't know how it's been in West Virginia, but I'm pretty sure it's probably been close to it since we're not that far from each other. What are your predictions for Saturday, man? Go ahead. I'm putting you on the spot.
Man, I sometimes pick this in my 3-2-1 column, the week of the game, but I honestly have no idea what's going to happen in this game. I think that West Virginia is kind of at that gut check point of the season, and Cincinnati has a little bit more leeway, I guess. I know that they have some tough games coming up, and it's not going to be easy, but they have a little bit more leeway. West Virginia's played fairly well on the road this year. They should have beat Pitt. They destroyed Oklahoma State. They were beating Arizona by a lot and kind of blew it at the end and almost let it up. But I think it comes out to how effectively this offense, West Virginia, can run the ball. If they can have success running the ball against Cincinnati, which Cincinnati's had issues at times this year, stopping that, I think that they're going to be very much in this game. But the flip side of that is, can West Virginia effectively play defense, not give up big plays? Those explosives have killed them this year. And if they give up a couple explosives, get themselves behind with a backup quarterback, I think it's going to be tough. I'm taking Cincinnati, but I think this is going to be a close game. And it's really, unfortunately, West Virginia fans out there that listen to this won't want to hear this, but I really do feel like it's another one of those coin flip type of games.
That's fair. I feel like that's the gist of the Big 12 right now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot of coin flip games that you think you got to post on. It goes the other way. You see Iowa State and who else lost? Kansas State and Iowa State lost last week. So, teams who plays the best on Saturday is the key, and momentum is a monster.
I mean, just look at the preseason favorites like Utah, Oklahoma State, Kansas. I mean, it's been a wild year.
Yeah, like Oklahoma State is almost like a give me right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. You would have thought that at the beginning of the year with Ollie Gordon coming back and all that stuff. And Utah, Cam Rising being hurt didn't help. But, with them playing, they have a physical brand of football. And I thought it would pretty much keep them in the top 2 no matter what. And they've just been getting handled. I don't know if it's all injuries or what, but I thought their style of football would be a lot to handle for the Big 12. And it's proven me wrong. Already,
it's a fun league. I mean, it's fun to watch, but
for sure.
At the same time, it's you got to have a couple teams step up. So we'll see. But I think the leagues. It's nuts to me that Neil was talking about this at his press conference this week. Realistically, now this mathematically, I suppose. 14 of the 16 teams could still play in Arlington. That's
crazy.
That's nuts to me.
It's crazy. crazy. You know, when you see was picked, I think 14th, I want to say, or something super low, and then they have a chance. And we didn't. I mean, in general, you know, seeing them in spring and fall, you're like, okay, they can be middle of the pack. But I'm like, man, if they just play clean, you know, I mean, they shouldn't have lost the Pitt.
Yep.
I mean, the Texas Tech game was there for the taking. You know, Colorado second half. I mean, before halftime, killed them. You know, you go for it on 4th and 1 with a quarterback power, they stop it, and then freaking they lose Travis Hunter. You know what I'm saying? And it was a double coverage. It was corner didn't drop, the safety didn't move over. I mean, it was just how you lose Travis Hunter is just crazy. But that's neither here nor there. Hopefully that we don't see that happen against West Virginia. But Keenan, man, I appreciate you taking your time, talking a little UC West Virginia game. Let the Bearcat, the TFON podcasters know where they can find your work, where they can probably haggle you on social media. Just drop that, and people where they need to come get their West Virginia news from.
Yeah, you can go to WVSports.com. We're part of the Rivals Network. You can even find it, you know, on the site. Click down on the bar, look at teams in the Big 12. You'll find a West Virginia site. And if you want to look at me on Twitter, it's at Rivals Keenan, Keenan. So once again, thanks for having me on, JT. I appreciate it. And anytime, man.
No problem, man. I appreciate you coming on. It's cool to be in a league that the people in the media care and the fans care. So it's all good, man. Being in the AAC, you guys got out of there pretty fast, so I'm a little jealous of you. You've been able to have some high quality, even if you guys were good or bad. At least you had high quality like fandom on both sides. It got a little rocky for us for some years. So yeah, man, I'm happy. I'm happy to be where stuff counts a little bit more. It means a little bit more here. So cool, man. I appreciate you. And I'm JT Smith, guys, and I'm signing out.